Hey everybody, Rory from A&S Gear. Look what we got today. Brand new LV2s are here. Finally, a gun that they said would never exist. Well, here it is. So let's get this thing open. LV2, here we go. So the packaging is new. As you can see, they went with a cardboard box, which is normal. They do normally the cardboard that they have has kind of like got a laminated surface to it, so it's like slick and smooth. But now this cardboard right here is kind of like a raw cardboard with the printing on it. But then we have this sleeve that goes around the outside, so we can pull this sleeve off like that. And then this just has some, information on the back of it about the gun, what comes in the box, that kind of stuff, your warning labels. All that stuff. So let's move that over there. And then here is our new box. We got a little opening on the bottom right here. We can flip that open, and then around the box just has your normal stuff on there. Where to contact them, 68 caliber, blah, 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 all that stuff. I'm sure everybody will read that box when they get theirs. So let's go ahead and open this. So here's our new case for the LV2. So it is still a hard case, or semi-hard. So it's still got the structural strength that you would see with the tin cases that they had before. But this one is covered in cloth. So it kind of gives it definitely an updated feel, kind of definitely a more sophisticated feel, I think. There we go. It says Eclipse on there. On the back side of it, there is kind of a little bungee carrying handle. So if you did need to carry it around, you could. That's up to you, I guess. I think most people are going to have it in their bag, but that's all right. Zippers on the side. Let's go ahead and zip it up, or unzip it, I should say. So when we first open that up right there, you can see we've got two compartments. We have our gun. We have our set of Allen keys over here. And then this is just a flat surface over here, kind of like a work surface you could use if you were at a field or something like that. But it's held in place by this little piece of elastic right here. So it's easily movable so that you can get this flap out of the way. We fold that over. We've got our manual right here. An extra little pocket for whatever you want to throw in there. And then this compartment houses our new barrel system. So the new power barrel, the S63 Power PWR barrel. So S63 for shaft 6, 3-piece. So S63. We've got our spares kit right here, which comes with our lightweight rammer if you want to use that. I like the heavy rammer, which comes in the gun. All of our little parts and bits and bobs, and all of our O-rings. And then our barrel sleeve and our oil right there. Get that all back down inside there. So here is our barrel. Let's get this out. And then let's get this out. And let's move this to the side. Put that over there for now. All right, so let's start with the barrel. And then we'll get into the gun, and I have a standard LV16 over here, so I'll bring that out and we can kind of compare them from the outside, looks wise, stuff like that. So the S63 barrel, here it is. We have our front. We have two inserts, so the setup is going to come with two inserts. This is a 689 insert right here. And then this blue one is a 685 insert. We have our back end right here, which uses that rubber sleeve on it. And this rubber sleeve is the same sleeve that you can buy the colored versions of. So if you want, I think they sell a red one, a blue one, a white one, an earth one, you can switch them out. So it is the same sleeve that they used before. The insert slides through the sleeve right there. And then you can see that this sticks out the backside right here. So typically for your barrel that you would have had before, you've got your threaded section and then the back end of the barrel, which is all one unit. Well, now your threaded section is on the back, and then the part that sticks out, that where the ball first is going to go in, is actually part of the sleeve. And there, so if I pull the sleeve out, you can see the difference between the two right there. And then sleeve in, you can see that. All right, so that's the barrel system, and you'll be able to buy these inserts right here, different bore sizes, and they're all going to be color coded. So that like blue is always going to be 685, black is always going to be 689, and then other colors will always be that number. So here's our tip. Slide our tip on there, and then reverse threaded still. So if you're not used to Planet Eclipse barrels, remember that the fronts and the backs reverse threaded. So don't try to unscrew them normally, otherwise you'll just tighten them up and you'll never get them off. But you can still take the insert in and out when the two pieces are together. It always will come in from this side though. You can't take it, and when you have the back off like that, you can't put this in this way and make it work properly. It just doesn't do it. Other barrel insert systems, you can do that, but you can't with these. If you look inside here on the back, you can see that there's threads on the inside. And you might think that that's a little weird. And it kind of is weird if you are looking at these, because these aren't threaded in any way. But there will be an insert that goes in that is rifled. So if you're going to be shooting or using this barrel to shoot first strike, obviously you're not going to be shooting first strike out of your LV 1.6 or your LV2 here. But if you're buying this barrel kit down the road, because the kit will be available just to purchase this barrel, you don't need to have an LV2 to get this barrel. You can just buy the S63 barrel. Maybe you're going to put it on a gun like the EMF or something that shoots first strike, a mag-fed gun. Well, there's going to be an insert that goes in that is rifled. And in order for them to be able to put that in and keep the insert solid so that it can't move, they needed to thread it. So the rifled insert for first strike rounds will have threads on the end down here, so that when you put it in, you thread the insert in, and that will keep the insert from rotating or potentially rotating when the round is trying to go through, and rotate through the rifling. So that's why it's threaded on the inside, for the insert that will be available that is rifled and needs to be threaded in. But for right now, it doesn't really matter on these ones. So insert goes in, that goes together, thread it up, and put it on. So now that we've got a complete gun, let's kind of just look at the differences in the gun. First, we'll weigh them up to see weight differences between these two. Let's put that in the middle there. So we're at zeros. So LV16, 2 pounds, ½ ounce, right there. LV2, which to me feels heavier. So slightly heavier. It's about 2 ounces heavier. In the scheme of things, that's not a whole lot. But I can feel it when I have it in my hands. And personally, I like that. I like a little bit of a gun with a little bit of meat on it. But whatever. That's just my preference right there. That's actually moved to 2 1/4. 3/8. So it's right around in there. But about 2 ounces heavier. That's okay with me. I like that. I like a slightly heavier gun. So for me, I don't really care about that. But again, personal preference. I wonder if it's in the barrels. So let's take the barrels off. And if we just go guns only, 112 3/4, 114 1/4. So no, it's in the gun. Because the barrel probably 4 1/4, 3 3/4. So it's about a ½ ounce. So I mean, the gun and the barrel are both heavier than their predecessor, which makes them slightly heavier in the long term. So, but that's okay. To me, that's okay. All right. Thank you, scale. You can go over there. All right. So looking at it for here we go. Side by side comparison. I think obviously the one thing that everybody sees from the beginning is the lack of the AT pipe right here. So no more gas through connection going into the regulator at the front. The grip obviously is thinner right here than right here, but that had to be done. This grip right here only held the HPR. So we had an HPR here, and then we had an LPR right here. Now in this one, we've got our HPR and our LPR both right here. And once you hold it, when you first pick it up, you're like, well, that's a bit thicker than I'm used to feeling on this gun. But literally after you take 5 shots out of it, you're like, well, I don't even notice it anymore. So that's, again, just something until you have the gun in your hands, you might look at it and go, ooh, I don't like that. But put it in your hands first. Take the gun and shoot it first before you pass any judgment on how it actually feels. All right, so frame look, I mean, similar. Obviously, we see the big difference with the frame back here being that the LV2 is a screwless grip setup right here, so no tools needed to pull this apart to get the grips off. They will just unsnap and come right off. There was no screws in the eye covers, so the eye covers are again toolless, will come right off. The trigger, I think a big thing with the trigger is accessibility and changeability for these. So on an LV16, to get the trigger out of this, you have basically had to separate the frame off the gun, undo the screws, and take the trigger up out of the top of the frame to get it out. That's no longer the case with the LV2 here. Let me just show you how easy that comes out. Throw an Allen key at it. So if I take out this little pin on the side right there, I can take the trigger out. And the trigger uses the same shoe setup as other markers, where you could just take the shoe off the back of the carrier like that, and you could switch it out for different shapes, different designs, different colors, whatever it happens to be. So I think trigger accessibility is great for this, especially coming from a standpoint of doing color swaps, which we do a lot of. Being able to speed up the process by not having to separate out the frame to take the trigger off, even though we'll have to separate the frame to do the color swap, but it makes it just one less step right there. So that's real nice. I like that. That gives you more options for triggers. It makes it easier to change the trigger and just basically get to the parts of the gun. We still have your pops ASA down here at the bottom. Ram cap setup is the same. Rammers are the same on the inside right here. The bolt has changed, and we'll look at that when I actually take this one apart. So the tip of the bolt is different. And then the feed neck has changed slightly too. So on this feed neck right here, when you open it up, or what I should say, when it's clamped, it's possible for the feed neck lever to move up and down like this. So even when it's clamped, you knock it or something, and it could slide down or up or move around. On the new version right here, if we open this up, you can see that they've put a little notch in there where this was clear, or they'd machined it out before, made that hollow right there. Now it is solid right through there, and they've put a little indexing notch in there. Now under this sticker is a hole right there, so there's a cutout right here. So when this is closed, that notch goes into the cutout, and it can only barely wiggle up and down right there. It can't slide down or up and potentially come undone. So new trigger, or a new, what is that thing called? New feed neck right there as well. Okay. So that's obviously the differences from the outside. Oh, you know, there's a different one on the back too. So the screens are different now. And the boards are very different, but let's see. We're going to turn that one on. And then there's that one. I'm trying to get the glare out of there. So you can see the difference in screen setups. Right there. This screen looks to be slightly bigger. And whether it is or not, I'm not sure. But I like this screen. This does more stuff on it. I think it looks cooler, but again, that's just going to be preference. Buttons are all enclosed. Buttons are enclosed on there too. Or I won't say enclosed. They're covered. So the buttons are all part of the grip now. On the LV2, even though the buttons, I mean, it's covered in like rubber and stuff right now. If you take this part, which is the back cover to the frame, off, and you turn the gun over, the button strip will fall out, and then the window, so the covering for the screen, will fall out, and you could lose those. When this comes off now, it's all intact. It's all enclosed. So let's just take those off so you can see on the back side. It's all part of this system right here. The window can't move, can't go anywhere, which on this one, it could definitely fall out when you took the grips off. So that's different now as well. And I don't know if I'm missing anything on here, but thank you for your service, LV2. Let's move you over to the side. All right, so now everybody just wants to see this gun come apart. So let's start taking it apart. We're going to start with just basic breakdown. Let's get the grips off. So that comes off of there. That comes off of there, and that gets us to the inside right here. So we've got our battery sitting right here. I'm going to remove the battery. So our board is actually 3 different pieces kind of sitting around in here. We've got our main board assembly right here, which is a couple pieces sandwiched together. And then we've got another little board right here, which is for our battery terminal. And then there's a jumper that goes from there up and around to right here to connect where the battery's coming in to the main board. And then we've got our 3 wires that go up this way. So we've got our I-wire system, we've got our switch, and then we've got our solenoid right here. So these are all the wiring that go from solenoid, micro switch, and eyes. And then up here is our, basically our jumper for our power right there to come across. If we move up a little bit farther up here, here's our latch for our eye cover. If you have taken apart a Geo or a CS or any of those guns, this is the 170s, 160s. This is the same kind of latch system that they use, where the latch just clicks back right there, and then you can take the eye cover off. So at the top of the eye cover, there's a little tab right there, and that will lock up into the top right there. So when it's latched over, this part can't come up because it's kind of tabbed in on the top right there, holds it in place. Got our eye wires coming down for here. You can see that running over. Our detent right there. We have a little spot for a spare detent. There's one on the other side as well. And then obviously with wired eyes from Planet Eclipse, on the left side of the gun is always going to be the black side. And then on the right side will always be the red side. Put that in there. We flip it over just so you can see the other side. Unsnap it. Now we've got our detent, our spare, our red side of our eyes, and then our little clip right here. And then that's the same clip that we've seen before. And set our clip down back in there, slide it back, put our eye covers on, and close it up, just like that. All right, so from this side of the grip, this is where you would access your controls for your solenoid right there. They're still on the right side. Pretty much every Ego in the recent years has always been accessible from the right side of the grip. If you needed to put a battery in or unplug anything or anything, it would always be on the right. So this one is now on the left side of the grip. So that's something that's different, among other things. Let's get this off. So what we want to do next is, well, actually we could let's take our bolt out and look at our new bolt, our new cure bolt. This one has little fingers on the front right here, which are going to help cushion the ball as the bolt comes forward and makes contact with the ball. Those little fingers are going to cushion it and kind of just help nudge it into the barrel. But also by just having little fingers on there, you are not restricting the flow. So as the air comes through the valve assembly and through the bolt right here, there's nothing obstructing the airflow in the middle. It can just come right out. So new bolt right here, new cure bolt. Let's take the cap off. Cap is still the same setup on here. So it has the same little bumper inside of it. Man. Pop that off. Still does have the little spot on the back for an Allen key if you need to for some reason, but really you should just put that on until it's tightened up with your hand. You don't need to crank on it with an Allen key. And then here's our rammer. Comes with the heavy rammer inside of it, but whatever you want to do there. So let's take our eye cover. Actually, I'm going to leave the eye covers on, I think, because that way I don't have to worry about my eyes falling out when I take the frame off. So I'm going to leave those on when I separate everything out. That way I can just unplug these wires and I don't have to worry about them coming out. But let's get our grip off. It's harder to do from that far away. So I'm going to move it towards my body and do it. So here's the first look at the front right here. So we've got our HPR right here. This is our red side. So this is our high pressure regulator. And then the blue is our low pressure regulator. And then we've got this new housing right here, which holds everything in place. Once I take the grip off here, you'll be able to see what's going on inside of there. We've got our pops. I'm not going to take this apart because we know what's going on with this. Pops ASA. Air is going to come up from the tank, up through the frame, through the front, and then up into this area where it's going to be transferred into this area. It's going to go into our HPR and then into our valve assembly, also then into our LPR, which is then going to feed back to our solenoid. So they say their operating pressure is now about 115 psi, or their working pressure, the shooting pressure. Obviously, the pressure through the LPR going into the solenoid is going to be lower than that. But to get the gun shooting, by moving the LPR down here and out of the way, they're able to dramatically increase the volume in the chamber up here, which just makes everything work better. Let's get this off. So first thing I'm going to do is unplug my first couple wires over here. I'm going to unplug my eyes, unplug my switch. I'm going to unplug my solenoid. I'm just going to kind of move those up and out of the way. When I move those up here, you can see this little jumper right here is just for our power from our board here to there. Once that's done, now I can undo these two screws, our front and rear frame screw right here. And then we can open up or take off the frame. Move that over there, and let's come to the front. And there. And then obviously whenever we take our grips off or our frame off, you do it slowly. You make sure that you're not pinching, cutting, nicking any wires as we're coming off. But because of the way this is cut and machined, it gives you a lot of space to get things through. So usually you don't have any issues right there. Now from here, if you needed to take out the whole bearing carrier and everything from the frame, you could take those two screws out and you could pull the whole thing up out of here, but you don't need to do that anymore. Another interesting thing you can see is this little piece right here. Here's our gasket, which you can see the hole down there in the bottom. So the air, as it comes through here, 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 and here, that's where this is going to transfer the air from the frame into this housing right here. So this is going to go into our regulator system over here. Once this goes through regulation, both through the HPR and LPR, the LPR is going to direct this air back out through this hose and then back to the manifold back here and then into the solenoid and into the gun and everywhere. Everywhere. Then he's actually, I should say, direct it back here to the manifold into the solenoid, and then solenoid will direct the air as to where it needs to go. We still got our lever, which you can see right down inside there. So the LV valve, the lever valve, this little screw holds our exhaust guide in place right there. And then our exhaust valve is sitting inside there. We'll pull that out in just a second too. But that's what we got going on right there. Okay, so let's take the rest of the front apart. I'm not going to pull, well, maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's get this off of here first. So I'm going to remove these parts out. So I'm going to remove the LPR and the HPR components out. Then I'll remove the box or the whatever they want to call this assembly now. So it still has the same kind of what they call the tuning fork or the fork before. It has a bracket that holds the two pieces in place. So I'm going to push up on the LPR like you would push on the front of this before, and the tuning fork would fall out. So I'm going to push up on this now, and I'll be able to grab the fork and slide it out. Put that, actually I'll put it on this side. And then I can grab my LPR and I can slide it out. Now from here, this is just like the LPR body, and the adjustment is down in there. You can see it, but you're missing the top part of the LPR here. So our piston and our spring are still inside here. So we're going to pull those two out. Whenever we're working with the pistons that are inside of here and you need to grab a hold of them and pull them out, make sure you are using a tool that is not going to mark or scratch or damage the surface that you are trying to grab a hold of. I'm using this small little pair of like a fine point needle nose, a rounded needle nose right here, which don't have any teeth on them or anything like that. So I can easily grab and pull without marking anything. So I'm going to just grab a hold of that. And I'm going to just gently pull it out. I'm not really squeezing very hard or anything. I don't want to damage anything. Because if you grab a hold of this with a pair of pliers and you mash it and you mark this all up and you damage that, when it goes to either pass through the O-ring that's on the inside here. So if you damage the outside of this and it's trying to seal on this O-ring that's inside here, you're going to leak, you're going to cause problems. You damage the face of this, which needs to seal against the seat inside there, you're going to have problems. So when you're pulling pistons out, make sure that you are as gentle as possible. All right, so there's our LPR assembly right there. Adjustments down through there. So LPR, and then we're going to do the same thing for this. Here is our HPR. That's our HPR adjustment inside there. And then I'm going to do the same thing. Gentle, gentle, gentle. And there's our HPR and our LPR. Put those right there. Now, there's, let's see, 2 screws inside of here. One right here that you see on the block, which is going to hold this to this, but there's also one that's down in here, which holds this in place right here. So I'm going to take this one out first. It's down inside of here. All right, so we got that screw undone in there. Now I could do 2 things. I could take this screw out and then lift the whole thing up, or I can just turn this over and pull that out. So this is the same kind of thing. We had the cap we had from before, and then we've got our exhaust valve right there. So that goes inside here. And this comes up through here and goes in. like that. So that holds this in place inside like that. So this screw comes up through here, passes through here, and holds and locks it in place, or holds it in place. And then this is inside here. And then this you would see sticking out through the valve guide. And this is what the lever pushes on every time. Pushes on it, opens the valve up, lets the air come out. When the ram comes forward, hits the lever pushes against this, opens up the, or pushes the exhaust valve back, opens it up off the valve guide, lets the air go out and push the ball, and then resets. So when you put this back in, it is possible to put this in kind of upside down, but the screw doesn't go through all the way. As you can see, it doesn't stick out the other side. It does through on this side. So there is a direction that this needs to go in. And you'll notice that the top of this is cut with like a bevel on it right there. That's because the barrel is going to sit right above this. So if we had this the other way, the barrel would hit that. I don't even know if you can put it in that way. Not even going to try. So just make sure that you've got your bevel facing up so that the barrel can rest through it. All right. So from here, then we could take off this. Like that. And then this would allow this whole piece to come off right there. We've got a couple things. Well, I can say a couple. We've got definitely something new up here. This is a whole new shaped gasket that's going to be very unique. I don't think you'll ever have a problem with this. It doesn't move. It doesn't do anything. It just seals up the body to the reg assembly right here. But it is just something different. I've never seen a gasket like that in, well, similar to that, but not like that size in there. And what do we got here? So this little piece can pop off of there. This is the transfer between the frame right there and the housing right here. And this just pushes together just like that. It'll be held in place by everything when it goes back together. And then moving back here, this just goes back to our solenoid and our manifold, which we've seen on the other stuff here. I don't know if I need to take that apart. I'll take the solenoid off. Maybe if I have a screwdriver that's small enough. I know I got a lot of screwdrivers over here. All right, there we go. So here's our solenoid with our controls right there, and then our manifold right here. Whenever you take the solenoid off, or if you ever take the solenoid off, there is a gasket that sits on the manifold right there, and it's recessed down into the manifold. But when you lift this off, it is possible for it to stick to the bottom of the solenoid. It's very rare that it would do that, but it can. So just be careful that when you take this off, that you realize that it might come off, and then you put it back together the right way. So that's it. That's the breakdown of the gun right there without taking the lever out, which really we don't need to take out of there. And I'm leaving the eye covers on, but we already pulled those off and showed everybody. Pretty sweet little setup right here. Let's throw it all back together. Got that. Make sure my gasket is flush, not getting all weird on me. Give that a good snug. All right. And we've got the other LV turning off over there. Don't forget about me. Push that down. Take this. Make that tight right there. Take our HPR. Gently push that up through. Then I'm going to turn it. You can see that there's flat spots right here. This is where this needs to pass through in order to lock it in place. So we got to get these in, and then these flat spots need to be in line with this to come through. So like that. Then we can push that up, make sure that these are turned right, and then we can lock that in place. Put our RAM back in, cap back in, our bolt back in. Now, if our RAM is all the way back, there's two little dots on the top right here, and then there is a mark on the bolt right here. If we slide the bolt in and line up the dots with the mark, and we push down, that should lock our pin properly in place. You want to make sure that you do that. I can put our frame back up in here. I'm just checking my wiring to make sure that nothing is out or is in the wrong spot and it's going to get pinched. My two screws and go back in here. All right, we're almost there. Tighten it up a little bit. Right there. All right, and let's get our battery back in place. So put that down in there. We're going to tuck our wires to make sure that everything is out of the way. We get them plugged in. So let's plug our eyes in. Plug the switch and solenoid. There we go. I'm going to just move these out of the way. There's kind of like a little lip on this little metal section right here, which will tidy the wires underneath there. I don't want those wires to be up over the top or anything like that, so that when the grips go on, they're not crushing those wires in any way. So I'm just keeping them down in this little channel right here and out of the way. All right, then we can take our grip, slide that one on, take our front of our rear grip, get that on there, flip it over, get that on, make sure that that is tucked up nicely up in there. And that's it. There we have it. That's the brand new LV2. Showing you the insides, all the goodies inside of here. We're going to take this one outside and we'll do some shooting with it. Show you guys that next. But the brand new LV2, check the website for color availability. Get on there, get your orders in. This one is real nice. LV2's in stock, available right now at ansgear.com.